So, ladies and gentlemen, I have a confession. After further investigation in the crypto space as a whole, one pair of moon boots is not going to be enough. Yeah. After further digging, I've come to the realization that you're going to need a few pair of moon boots. So I don't know where you got your first pair of moon boots, but you're going to need to order a few more. Stuart, let him have it.
Yeah, we are confident. We think this is the beginning of
Pretty
the
much
end of the case in terms of how the case is going to unfold.
Which is on the Howey test, and you believe that XRP does not fulfill the 4 prongs of the Howey test. Maybe we can go into that a bit.
Sure. So actually, we roll it back to the 1933 Securities Act, because whether or not the offer and sale of a digital asset needs to be registered as a security, it first has to meet the definition of a security under the statute. And in fact, the Security and Exchange Commission, their authority is limited to the regulation of securities. So we believe that unless there is a contract for an investment, there's no case, and actually there's no authority for the SEC to even weigh in.
You lost your color for a minute, now you black again. Yeah, I'm on a blockchain with it, and my blockchain monkeys full of octane in them. You know the vibe, plus we shredded than a motherfucker. Yeah, we crash monkeys. Yeah, we crash monkeys. It go Planet of the Apes, gorillas in a mess. All these bad rules all over my shit. It go Planet of.
And so, ladies and gentlemen, before we get to the juicy part of the steak, I want to give a huge shout out to my sponsors, Lumi Wealth, using algorithms to make investing easier and more profitable. Just had my first introductory class yesterday, and it was absolutely amazing. I've learned so much already. And we had a discount code of 15% off using BMZ15. Check it. What is going on, blockchain monkeys? Eagle here, thank you for coming to my jungle. First of all, I'm no financial advisor whatsoever, nor am I professional in blockchain technology. But there's one thing that I absolutely will do. Let's give my opinion. So today, we got to get to it. What is happening here in this space? Are things moving forward? Is FUD being put out on a massive scale? You better believe it. But us as blockchain monkeys, we see right through the fog. We see through all the ashes. We see through everything they throw at us. And this is why we soar.
If they can't establish there's a contract for an investment, you don't even get to the Howey case, and we don't even believe they get to the Howey case. But if you get to the Howey case, and I think most of your viewers know what that is, we believe that they don't satisfy any of the prongs of the Howey case. I think it's a 3-prong test, not a 4-prong test, but we believe that they fail on every single prong of the Howey test. So first I want to agree that I do believe that this policy in the United States of regulation by enforcement is a failed policy, and it's creating
light they ass up, Stu.
Havoc in the marketplace, and that havoc in the marketplace ultimately hurts the very retail consumer that the SEC purports to protect. I think what we're seeing is power and politics elevated over sound policy, and that is not a good thing. To your question, why Ripple? That is a good question. I'm not sure I have a good answer to it. What I will tell you is that the lawsuit was filed on December 22nd, 2020, on the last day of the prior administration when Jay Clayton was the chair of the SEC. The day after the lawsuit was filed, Jay Clayton left office, and within 2 weeks of the lawsuit being filed, the entire senior leadership team that was, I think, involved in the decision to file the lawsuit left the SEC. So why Ripple? I'm not really sure. I think we can all venture a bunch of different guesses. Maybe the SEC was tired of playing whack-a-mole with some smaller tokens, and they felt that if they could go after Ripple and indirectly attack the digital asset XRP, which Ripple relies on to facilitate its cross-border payments, maybe they thought that they can send a broader message to the entire market. But I think what they've learned is that if you challenge a well-resourced company, that well-resourced company can put on a very robust defense and really expose the SEC that what they're doing in the space is not applying the law, It's not a faithful allegiance to the law. They're seeking to remake the law, and they don't have the power to remake the law. Only Congress can remake the law. Could there be digital assets that are packaged and sold as securities? I imagine there could be. To what Gary Gensler says is we don't need any further clarification. Maybe that was true if the SEC under the prior leadership and the SEC under Gary Gensler's leadership was faithfully applying the law. What they're doing here is they're not applying the law, they're seeking to remake the law. The SEC has already been called out by this court by engaging in hypocrisy because they're engaging in litigation behavior to further a desired result rather than a faithful allegiance to the law.
Shit.
So maybe I would agree with Gary Gensler that we don't need any further clarity if he was faithfully applying the law, but he's not. He's twisting the law, or the SEC is, and I want to make this personalized to Gary Gensler. The SEC is twisting the law. They're using sleight of hand to pretend that common interest can be a common enterprise, that you don't need a contract for an investment to satisfy an investment contract. So if we were to faithfully apply the law, maybe we don't need any more clarity. But over the past 6 years, I'll say, starting with the Clayton administration at the SEC and now continuing into the Gary Gensler administration, there's been so much confusion and havoc wrought by this agency, and I think intentionally, because with that, with confusion comes power. Let me put it this way. If Gary Gensler or the SEC truly believed that they had the power that they suggest they have in speeches and interviews, they would be exercising that power, and they're not.
Boom!
And the reason they're not is because they don't have the power under the law, and that's going to be exposed in this case.
Let's go. And so, ladies and gentlemen, you can pretty much see things unfolding right in front of your face, and you have front row seats to the rocket. Look at Danelle Dixon doing her rounds, doing what she needs to do to get this thing off the ground. Take a look. We are proud to join WEF's World Economic Forum Crypto Sustainability Coalition. There's a lot of work to be done, but together we accelerate action toward climate change sustainable with Stellar. You see the pieces being put into place, ladies and gentlemen. Take a look. Check this. We have Colorado is now accepting tax payments in cryptocurrency as Governor Polis promised. The Colorado Department of Revenues offers tax payment through PayPal's cryptocurrency hub for personal taxes. Businesses are not eligible yet. What do we have going on? Do you see the slow progressions happening here right in front of your face, ladies and gentlemen? So once again, they're giving you a head start. Now, we have Jamie Dimon here with more financial advice. Take a look. This coming in hot from 3T Warrior Academy. Take a look.
Mr. Dimon, if I can ask you one other question. I'd like to ask about another topic that I've been very focused on, which is the rapid development of digital assets and related financial technology. I believe the United States should lead the development of emerging technologies like distributed ledgers and blockchain, and the federal government should provide the certainty needed for the country.
Now, you got to remember who's talking here. This is Jamie Dimon, okay? As a matter of fact, let's get a quick refresher real quick.
And so during 1994 to 1995, we had a bit of a bear market. And so, again, institutions were out saying that, anybody buying internet stocks, you're idiotic. And so you had a lot of people selling their AOL, selling their Microsoft, selling their Dell shares. Guess who was buying? It was the institutions. If you look at a chart of institutional allocation to venture capital internet deals, it doubled between 1994 to 1995.
To serve as a hub for financial innovation. I've developed legislation to help define qualified stablecoins, which I know the chairwoman and the ranking member are also working on, and to select the appropriate regulator. I've read that you're a little skeptical of some of these new technologies, but what are the biggest things keeping you from being more active in the space? And do you worry that we would miss the boat and give other nations like China opportunities to advance their digital currency and other payment systems that could undermine the US dollar? And I'd love to get some of your thoughts on that.
So you have to separate blockchain, which is real, DeFi, which is real, ledgers, tokens that do.
Look at her.
Do something and deliver information, money, ideas, simplify smart contracts. That's one thing. I'm not a skeptic. And I'm a major skeptic on crypto tokens, which you call currency, like Bitcoin. They are decentralized Ponzi schemes. And the notion that's good for anybody is unbelievable. So we sit here in this room and talk about a lot of things, but $2 billion has been lost. Every year, $30 billion of ransomware, AML, sex trafficking, stealing.
Here come the FUD. FUD them out. FUD them out.
It's dangerous. There'd be nothing wrong with the stable coin properly, just like a money market fund, properly regulated.
Pay attention. They're signaling exactly where you are going.
Morgan has a JP Morgan. We are a big user of blockchain. There's a JP Morgan coin.
We know you are. You've been for a long time.
It's a dollar deposit.
And so let's get Brad Garlinghouse's take on Jamie Dimon.
We talk about Jamie Dimon. We first have to recognize where he sits. He sits at the top of the global financial infrastructure. There are a few banks, of which JPM is certainly one, that make billions and billions of dollars of profit by virtue of that perch. 99.9% of banks don't make money in this ecosystem in terms of cross-border payments. Jamie Dimon makes a technical term of a shit ton of money by sitting there. So when I hear Jamie Dimon saying he's a fraud, I think to myself, well, of course he's going to say that. He's talking. I mean, by the way, there's also people who conspiratorially, he's trying to talk down the price of Bitcoin so JPM can buy it.
Okay, so let's take it out with XRP right now. JP Morgan Chase CEO Jamie Dimon calls crypto decentralized Ponzi scheme on Capitol Hill. Take a listen.
Parabolic over the last day or so. Look at it now, up 24% to 48 cents. As there are some developments in the legal battle between Ripple and the Securities and Exchange Commission. Here to discuss all of the latest developments, Ripple CEO Brad Garlinghouse and our own Charlie Gasparino. Charlie.
Thank you.
Brad, good to see you.
Before we get into this, your continuing saga with the SEC, Jamie Dimon called crypto a decentralized Ponzi scheme yesterday before Congress.
I read that. Look, I think very notable people, including Jamie Dimon, have called it a fraud. Warren Buffett, I think, had some negative comments. Right. Look, I think we've reached a point where we know this industry is not going away. It's here to stay. You're talking about $1 trillion of value. And I think ultimately these things, as we've talked about here on this show before, are going to be measured by what utility, what problem are you solving? And so, for him to call it a Ponzi scheme, there's 50 million people here in the United States who have direct exposure to crypto that might disagree with him.
Well, let's get to XRP because the Twitterverse is going nuts over your appearance right now on Fox Business with Charlie. And XRP, of course, the native coin to the Ripple. Tell me exactly why you think that this jump in price is happening. What news can you give us?
Like, it's hard to know. Honestly, I've watched crypto now. I've been in the business at Ripple for 7.5 years. I've been in crypto for about 9 years. It's really hard to know. What I would point to is a couple things. Before the SEC got involved with us and ETH, because again, there's two factors here. One, XRP was the second most valuable digital asset ahead of ETH. And then around 2018 was a kind of a famous, now infamous speech that kind of anointed ETH
of the corporation fund.
And so look, I think increasingly as the summary judgment filings were made public, people realized that maybe the SEC really is overreaching. They really aren't following a kind of faithful allegiance to the law. That's a quote from the judge in this case. And so I think people are realizing that, the
judge said that it might be. They might not be, right?
No, but the judge said is, one, the SEC is being hypocritical. Yes. And two, they said that they were not following a faithful allegiance to the law in pursuit of an outcome. And I think that's what we have here. The SEC, I think, has kind of lost its way. I said yesterday on stage, I think it's cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs.
I was going to ask you that, right? I mean,
I just think that we have to remember the SEC gets its power from statutes passed by Congress. Congress gives the SEC power. The SEC can't just take power. What the power says today, the 1933 Securities Act said that you have to have an investment contract. So as you'll see in our motion for summary judgment, the first step of determining could XRP be a security is you have to have an investment contract. And our point is Ripple doesn't have a contract. With whom is the contract? It's not a written contract, it's not an oral contract, it's not an implicit contract.
So where we are right now in the case.
So the summaries for the motions for summary judgment were just filed last week. They were made public on Saturday, which I'll mention very briefly. We had agreed with the judge and with the SEC to release those on Monday. They jumped the gun. It's just that this constant, I think, disrespect to the court process.
which we've seen time and time again. The judge in this case has ruled 5 different times that the notes associated with that infamous speech we're talking about should be turned over to Ripple.
And we
still don't have them. We still don't have it.
So the case, she's going to make a decision on whether it goes to trial or not, or whether she'll just rule from the bench, right? So
yeah, I think we expect that there won't be a trial because trials and juries are really to determine if there's uncertainty about facts. Right. The facts here really aren't very much disputed. The law is in dispute.
You think she's going to?
We think she has the information to make a ruling, and we think it's very clear that the SEC is grossly overreaching their authority.
Before we go, what is your relationship with this gentleman, Ryan? What's his name? Ms.
Smelkus.
What is this?
No, he calls me Garlinghouse. I call him Smelkus. His name's Ryan Selkus. He's a very smart guy.
He runs
what?
He runs Masari, which is crypto information.
Yes, exactly. He hosts right now.
By the way, this is you dunking him.
Well, I cheated. The dunk tank, it turns out, is hard. Yeah. Liz is gonna laugh at me now.
Well, it worked.
It did work.
Now you guys have a love-hate thing going, right? More hate?
Look, as we have talked about, people's persona on Twitter can be quite different than persona in person. Right. And I think he's run a great conference, and he's part of the kind of conversation of how to bring crypto into the future.
So,
but he said some stuff on.
So he's like a jerk on Twitter.
That would be an understatement.
Oh, well, really?
You could go read. I mean,
what do you call you?
I'm not. Safe space.
Charlie knows from jerks on.
By the way, I get trolled on Twitter a lot. And there was one guy, I don't want to say his name. We went back and forth on Twitter a lot. Now we're very close. We talk every day.
Maybe Ryan Selkus and I have a bromance buddy. We'll see.
Cause it's the standard in this bitch. XRP. I went to YouTube University, and now they mocking me with no degree. We saying by the swift, keep it walking. Respect your elders in these bushes. Bitcoin is talking.
You don't have to be rich to be taking advantage of this. This was the beginning of the greatest transformation of wealth the world has ever fucking seen since World War II.
Blockchain. We talking about an intellectual choo-choo train. It's DLT up in these streets, man. That's why we rip all on that blockchain.